With Nirvana, the band, the show, having such a unique approach to comedy, both structurally and in terms of editing, I'm curious as to what your earliest exposure to comedy was. Like, who were your go-tos, whether it be stand-up comedians or comedy troupes or comedy shows?
Earliest, it's hard to say. It's like everything, right? It's like I'm a kid of the 80s. There's a lot of stuff going around. I think by the time I had like a cogent mind of like developing my comedy taste, something that hit me really hard was a couple of my friends and I were watching Tom Green
Yeah,
on Rogers Cable 10, where we'd turn it to our like channel 10, which nothing was ever on there. It was like the local channel where you would see just garbage of just your local, like, well, nobody watches this. Well, let's turn it to Fox 29, which was Buffalo's Fox.
mm,
Um, and we'd watch Simpsons and stuff, and that was obviously huge. But I remember Tom Green really feeling, and this is what a lot of young people don't understand about Tom Green. Tom Green, when he was early doing that sort of form of comedy, everything that he did, it felt really new. It felt like he was pushing the boundaries, and so we had this insane amount of excitement watching him, being like, I can't believe he's doing this and is allowed to do this. And I think that that kind of awoken something in me. And this is even before I met Matt, but when we got together, we definitely shared our respect for Tom Green.
yeah. Tom Green, paint wrapping his dad's car with the lewd image is definitely one of my favorite moments and pranks ever.
Yeah,
I love it. I'm a huge fan.
good drawing stuff on in the museums.
Mm.
Um, uh, even just his sort of way that he would talk to, like he'd talking to an old man, like, excuse me, sir, where are you going? Well, I'm on the way to the bank, and that's my business. And this guy just completely turns on Tom, and it's like some of the first time you actually see this like real footage of like people railing against being on camera because it was just a new thing. Cameras weren't around since it's a tough thing to explain like how powerful that was to see in real time because now cameras are everywhere and people don't really understand that
Definitely.
there was a time when it was like novel, like really novel.
What your damn business?
I was just asking you a question.
I'm not here. I asked you a question. Where the hell you go?
I'm not going anywhere. I'm just walking around talking to people.
Now a question more geared towards music as well as comedy. Did you get into music production, composition, instrumentation before really approaching comedy, or
Oh
was
yeah.
it the other way around?
Yeah, no, I was music man my whole life first. Like, just because it was one of the first things that really defined my consciousness even. Like I was playing little keyboards before I was conscious, and my parents knew that I kind of gravitated towards music more than other kids, and so I had this early start at just understanding music. That's not to say that like I'm like so exceptionally like touched or gifted or anything like that. It's just that I have that one, whatever it is, that a lot of people have, which is like just some sort of understanding where my ear training with music, like my pitch is like just really, I just understand it on a level that I always have. And so it's always given me a little bit of an advantage in music. Um, and I think it's also just made me love being in the field of music because I can just sort of really understand it on a level that kind of gives me a bit of a leg up on uh, on everything. But so much about music is learned still. You know what I mean? There's like a little nugget that I was sort of born with that sort of allowed me to sort of hear some things. I guess it's like a perfect pitch or a perfect relative pitch. I don't think I'm a perfect pitch person, but like I got very close to perfect pitch. And so because of that, I I found like a path in music always, and so I would find I early on learned a lot about music, and I was in lessons, I think comedy was just the type of person I was. Everybody like I didn't go to a school where I met other musicians. I went to a school where I met other comedians, and so I was just a class clown. That's the way people knew me, but they also knew that I was you know, the guy where they'd wheel the upright piano out in front of the assembly and I'd play the national anthem. But then maybe the teacher would, while I'm still sitting up there like the special music kid, you know what I mean? Like who's playing the national anthem, the principal would say, now the vice principal would like to speak to you all about your habits in the cafeteria. And we all didn't like the vice principal, and the vice principal would walk from the back of the room towards the front of the stage, and I'd start playing the Imperial March on the piano, you know, like all its minor movements and everything. And people just loved that. And so I've always, I think I've got some early memories of marrying the comedy and music together.
Awesome.
And so that's always kind of driven me to sort of just kind of stay in that Venn diagram.
I wanted to get the scoop from you. What are your favorite clubs or restaurants in Toronto and essential spots in general? Especially with, I try to make a point to make a trip all the time. I would love to know new locations to check out.
Clubs. Pass. I don't really know. I mean, I'm more of a bar guy, and even then, I mean, what Toronto is so great for, I mean, everybody's always going to be able to give some answer about some bar, but like honestly, like the coolest thing about Toronto is that it's big enough where somebody can call you up one time and be like, "Hey, let's go to this place, this dive over here," and you've never been there before. Um, it's something that really you only can expect to do in bigger cities, like American cities, like in New York or something. And Toronto does have some of um, that experience to be had. Um, Restaurants, I mean, oh, I love Indian food. I love going to Banjara, but Little India has a place in my heart, the restaurant on Queen, uh, because Matt and I spent a lot of time. We wrote our whole web series there. Um, I like House on Parliament, which is a pub that just doesn't have a lot of TV screens. It's just like old, dark, brown British wood and pints and bangers and mash and dark. Um, but it's been a few years where I've really felt like I'm like out on the town a lot to kind of know what the buzz
Mhm.
is. I'm more on the I don't answer this a lot. I'm right now currently I'm asking those questions and being in Toronto, I'm pleasantly surprised a lot at some new places to try.
Are there any directors that you would love to compose for, like specifically any distinct visual style you would love to tap into with a score of your own?
Um yeah, Steven Spielberg would be fun. Uh Oh, actually, you know, he really would be. I mean, you dream about being able to sort of like channel stuff. Like that's why I love when Matt and I do something like like in our cartoon that we made for Amazon, Matt and Bird Break Loose. There are a few parodies that like, you know, you get to do that just sort of channel the most sort of vanilla like old 80s adventure orchestral thing. And like whenever I get to dig into that, it's just like tugging at all my right heartstrings. I I do have a proclivity to like to get like somber and like sad or just like other just dramatically cinematic with my scoring. Like I I'm eagerly awaiting my friend Evan Morgan, who directed The Kid Detective, that sort of was the first director to give me like a full responsibility of coming up with the whole tone for a movie score that like really needs a lot of score. Like I've been scoring Matt's movies for a while, and I've been doing a lot of scoring for a lot of different things. But the first movie that I had the sort of responsibility of really defining its sort of bigger score that felt like it really carried some weight was Evan Morgan's Kid Detective, and I'm eagerly awaiting for him to call me up and finish his next project, because that was just right up my alley. And I felt like he was, in a sense, defining his own voice with that movie, which we both worked together so well. And so in that sense, you feel less like you're trying to step into the shoes of something, and that you're um defining your own thing, which is just an exciting thing, even though I channel a bunch of everything. So yeah, but I'd love to get those guys to have Evan come to me with another movie. And yeah, like I haven't done, I'd love to be able to score a lot of like there have been some things where I've been busy with a few projects in the last year, and our Nirvana the band movie is underway. But there have been some movies that have shown up, opportunities for me to score that I couldn't take on, and some of them are, you know, maybe like have that half comedy element to them, and I totally understand why that's why I would be approached about it. But to be honest, like I feel like I would thrive and I would really have a lot of fun in doing something that really needs to just um, subtly tug at your heartstrings and do the more subtle, like somber. If they needed, if they said like, can you just do this like a Thomas Newman score, or like a, you know, one of those sort of early Elfman things where we're just going to get like really introspective, and we really want to be cerebral and mature about this. That's right. I'd really be excited to try to flex some ideas.
Um, when it comes to composing film scores, what do you look for in the scene while you're composing? Are there specific details you look for, or do you change your approach on a project to project basis? Like, do you have a specific approach?
Um, I try not to let my own I I have a tremendous amount, and continue to develop a tremendous amount of respect for directors, and somebody who has taken on a movie and understanding it in a way that they will understand it better than anybody that works on it. That's sort of their job in a way. Um, and so my approach often is really just making sure that I can align and also get excited about the POV that the director is seeing, basically the whole uh, sub context of the movie operating on its sort of emotional, intentional uh, ways that it's doing, all the ways that it's valued on its sort of subliminal, or the in between the lines ways that the director can just sort of give you this sort of Coles notes on. And I just want to milk that for as much as possible. And I just talk to them about, like, what do you think this means? And what do you think that means? And it can get you into very interesting conversations with the directors. And they will often, uh, what I witness, either they're saying what they already know, but I will witness many times what I consider to be new ways in which they are describing their movie. Because when they're talking about it through a sense of music, it's the first time maybe they're articulating maybe what this intention is, or at least in a way that they're a new way that they're articulating it, because they know that they're trying to make music out of this. And so the more communication you can do with the director to really get behind their eyes, and share the same sort of, you know, ethereal vision, the light at the end of the tunnel, like what the little balance that they want to strike, um that will hopefully put in me incept in me like a new type of way of looking at the film where then my own instincts are aligned, you know, and then that's when it gets really fun, is when my own instinct, because if I go in without talking to the director a lot, my own instincts might be my own, and I haven't done a movie like that before. Maybe some disparate scoring things here and there that I've done that I can just be of service. But if I really want to do a movie, do a good job scoring a movie, then it's really getting on the same page as the director so much that my instincts, and I go, what if we do this? They start to be like, oh, amazing. Now where I end, you begin, sort of thing. And that's a good feeling when you hit that zone.
How does it feel to have played such a huge part in Blackberry's success, more specifically the film's historic, record-breaking 17 nominations at the Canadian Screen Awards? Your score is phenomenal. How does it feel to be a part of that, of a huge monumental project?
That's very kind to say. I feel really lucky to be part of a very big machine of very talented people and crew and actors. Like, we got very lucky, and it was many years assembling our Zapruder crew of the minds that really got to shape and like dig into the movie, and there was a small group that I felt and continue to feel just so humbled by, because from the very beginning of pre-production, when it's just a little idea, all the way to the very end, it's the same band of people, of crew, that get to sort of weigh in with their little ideas, and everyone's, and it's tough because, you know, it is a complete best idea wins situation. It's a total meritocracy, and um and it feels great. It just feels lucky that we got the just the power to be able to have a movie for our own little group, you know, and everybody had their everybody's responsibilities blurred. Like, everyone had their roles and everything, but all of us were sort of producers in senses, right? And everyone was on set, and then it came time for us to kind of go into our own corners and make sure that our own little departments were firing off well, and everyone just did their best. And honestly, to be honest, like, when we watched the final cut, we still kind of looked at each other, just huffing and puffing, as it was pried away from us. We can't work on it anymore. And we said, oh, at least we made, I think, a B. It was a B movie. Thank God that it was you know, an 8 out of 10. And and so it really surprised us that it was embraced. I still don't even think it's that great a movie.
Wow.
It's just, you know, it's so funny. Like, after a while, like, I don't think I've ever worked on a project that was so long and so big that we got to know every little in and out of. And so at a certain point, it's difficult to see objectively. But all this to say, everybody that worked on it is just so thrilled that it got to be celebrated and is getting nominations and stuff. And so yeah, we're super lucky to have the cast that we had, right? We got all these cool people coming in, and Jay Baruchel and Glenn Howerton, just like right, like they didn't need any, like, normally whenever we've had any actors before, we always are conspiring to figure out how we're going to get them to do what we really want them to do. And this wasn't the case. These guys were so good. They just came in and just immediately, we were just like, oh, this is their movie now. This is amazing. Like, so it was a joy.
How long to build a prototype of the phone?
Pocket Link.
Yeah.
A year?
No. A prototype, Mike. A shell I can wave around at a meeting. It could be a complete piece of shit.
No, we're not doing that. No, Mike's not doing that.
Listen to me. US Robotics is building their own phone. We are now in a race to get this thing to market, and we are a year behind. So I don't care what you need to do. Get these fucking nerds to drop everything and build this fucking phone! What?
I have a question from one of my friends, Javen, in regards to Nirvana. What is it that keeps you and Matt coming back to this property after so many years? What keeps you guys excited to continue the quest to play it? Why do you want to keep exploring these characters and their wants?
Yeah, that's cool. A cool name, Javen. Um, the characters and the whole concept of Nirvana the band is born naturally of just our actual friendship, and I don't want to bore you with like every single um you know what where everything came from, but like it's it's an easy go-to of putting yourself like both Matt and I are able to kind of be these characters so autonomously. We're at this point, I mean, it's just sort of it's so natural. And in that environment of being natural, I think you can sort of have this runway to hopefully just fall ass backwards into something that is so funny. Like, I don't know, like it's hard to explain succinctly why we want to do it again. It's just something that we feel comfortable returning to. Um, and this, we just wanted to fit this in. Like, there's obviously a lot of cool ideas and some neat things that are in the works for Matt to direct his next feature. You know what I mean? And that could be what's on the in the future right now. Could be many exciting things, and that's going to be something that is going to be a machine like BlackBerry, where everyone's going to need to, toe the line, and we're going to go into that again. It's going to be crazy and hopefully great. But Nirvana the band is a completely different machine. Like it's just us being us. It's very insular. It's very indulgent. It's very personal. These are everyone who works on the show, or at least like closely with us, are old friends that have worked on it from the beginning. Um, and so I don't know. It's just like an old band that you just refuse to break up because you just like the songs. It just comes the most natural. Um, Plus, like we just the you'll see when this movie comes out why it's just like, I mean, how else were we supposed to write this movie that we're about to shoot? Like it's the some of the concepts are just so fucking insane. Um, there's no way we could just write this and say and try to pitch it to actors. You know what I mean? Like we have to do it. So
Basically, the plan is just burn out as much time as I can, exhaust
His mouth
him.
is kind of
Hopefully, he
open.
wants to go to bed before the hacking plan actually needs to go.
You see me?
Enjoy the cats, Birdman.
All right, I've had enough of these cats.
Had enough of them.
It's the same cats.
Look at this wonderful one.
Isn't that wonderful?
I'm more of a dog person.
Final question. I know this is a bit of a long shot, but can you provide any updates regarding the upcoming film, whether it includes like working on the score, shooting done, anything like that?
we just started shooting again. We did some shooting before Christmas. And much like any Nirvana the band project, it is constantly going through changes. And so it went through a lot of changes. I don't really want to give away too much more.
No, definitely.
Like we're gonna I'll give you a clue though. This will be fun. We have to we're gonna be looking at there's gonna be a lot of Alan Silvestri score that we are fair using, and that really excites me because I know, just like in the show, whenever we got to fair use score or any sort of music, usually the lawyer will afford us a certain amount based on how much it's imperative for the narrative, or there's a lot of different rules about how parody and fair use will work. And oftentimes the lawyer will just kind of come up with some arbitrary amount that he's affording us that he can build a case on to say we're allowed to use, 90 seconds of this music, which then gives me a really fun job of maybe saying, all right, well, why don't we try to extend that 90 seconds into 3 minutes, where, we'll use the real thing for 20 seconds. And then when it's less important and there's some dialogue, I'm going to just do a sound-alike score, and I'm going to just toil over, you know what I mean? How it's like doing surgery, connecting this instrument to this instrument. And then when it swells back up again, let's bring in the real thing. And now we can restart the clock of what we're afforded. And so being able to do it this time around with a big Alan Silvestri score is a really exciting, big challenge for me. So on the score front, I'm really, really looking forward to that.